So I had two interviews recently. They were both quite a bit of fun. Your Parenting Mojo and the Consciousness podcast. And towards the end, this question of intuition came up, and it seems like intuition has been coming up more and more. So I don't think that's a coincidence. And so I thought I'd do a short video on intuition because it's a tough one. In fact, whenever I'm asked about intuition, I'll just kind of pause for a little bit because the thinking mind has a particularly difficult time dealing with intuition because the thinking mind knows so little, and the thinking mind is quite frankly very distrustful of intuition. So the cognitive psychologists did a really great job in the 70s and 80s, and they were able to find, I think the list is about 300 uh, problems the mind actually encounters when it tries to solve problems. These are thinking errors. And these are all kinds of things like stereotypes and guesses that get us into trouble. So using our guts, and these have been shown absolutely to be flawed. And so that puts us in a tough situation. So we know. So when you say, okay, well, isn't my gut right? Isn't my gut? How do I know when to trust my gut? Probably one of the more important questions for psychology to address these days. So I'm going to answer it with two hints given to us by the Arthurian legends. So these are the stories around King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Two hints that I think speak a lot about intuition. The first is that each knight, when they were going into the dark forest, each knight had to enter in by themselves, so they couldn't go in as a group, and they had to enter in what they thought was the darkest place. And so this is an important hint, pointer about conformity. And so when we're trying to figure out the difference between the thinking mind and intuition guiding us, one of the first things we have to recognize is, are we conforming to others or are we venturing off on our own? Because there's something about intuition that it's like riding a bike. You can't read too many books about it. You have to go out and do it. The second comes from the myths that surround the Grail. And the big question that solves the whole Grail mystery was to ask, to whom does the Grail serve? Which is another way of putting, is this about me? Is this about ego? And so if the answer to that is, well, this is just serving me and my ego, then you know you're not on the right path, which is really similar to the first pointer. So one of the ways that we can assess whether we're using our gut in a way that serves the mind, and that'll probably lead us down a very bad path, or whether we're tapping into what that intuitive wisdom that so many people have talked about, and it sounds very valuable, but we're not sure how to get there, is really the shortest way around all this is to just sidestep the thinking mind. Everything about intuition is knowing in a way that is not knowing with the thinking mind. So I was listening to some Bowie this morning, and there's a great line where he says, I think my spaceship knows which way to go. That's another way to talk about intuition, your spaceship being your body, and when you hand it over to intuition, it's this trusting nature. The universe has gotten along for billions of years without a thinking mind. And the thinking mind is really, really recent on the whole scene. And so your spaceship absolutely knows which way to go. You just have to get the thinking mind to step out of the way and let it happen.